Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Right now I'm just spray painting. I chose 3 different colors of spray paint. There's a dark blue, kind of like an aqua color, and then I did a white. So you're just going to spray the dark blue towards the top and the white towards the bottom. The best way to spray paint so you don't get drips is to hold it far away from you using short bursts of spray paint. So I'm just going to continue around the cup, making sure that everything is even. Try to get it into a nice looking ombre. And there you have it, perfect ombre. So now I'm going to move on to how to get the sand onto the cup. Basically, you're going to need a foam brush, some Mod Podge sand of your choice. I did get this at Michael's. And then your spray painted cup. So usually what I do is I just dip the foam brush into the Mod Podge. You don't need another holder for it. It's less waste this way. And I'm just gonna do kind of wave-like flow on my cup at the very bottom with the white. And I'm just gonna go around the cup. And not like a pattern, but kind of all over the place to give it that beach look. Then I'm just going to sprinkle the sand on lightly and kind of dump it off onto a sheet of paper. That way I can collect it and put it back into that container. Some people, because Mod Podge does kind of dry fast, so you might want to just do the whole sand all the way around and then knock off the excess. But sometimes if it's not that big of an area or I'm not glittering an entire cup, I'll go ahead and do some of it and then knock it off as I'm going so I can see where I need to put more. So now I'm going to start on the bottom, and obviously there were spots that were missed on the side, and that's okay because we're going to come back and do another layer. Usually when it comes to Mod Podge, you want at least 2 layers so that everything is fully covered. If you were to spray paint the bottom, maybe like a gold or a tannish color that matched the sand that you had, then it would probably be less likely that you would need to do 2 or 3 coats of the Mod Podge and the sand. But I didn't have that. All I had was white, so you can still use white and make that work for any glitter, any sand, anything that you want on there. But those spots will be able to fill in once this is dry after 20 minutes. Just like with glitter, so that when you're sanding it, it's less of a process, especially when you have to add a lot of layers. I kind of like to just pat it down. This makes it easier for putting Mod Podge on also. Then after 20 minutes of drying, I'm going to go ahead and do another layer of Mod Podge, but this time instead of brushing it on, we're going to dab it on. This way we're not moving any of the sand that hasn't completely dried yet. So I am going to pat this down a little bit. It's going to be thick because I kind of want this cup to be like a 3-dimensional real beach look. And I'm just going to clean up my space a little bit. Using a lint roller helps a lot, especially when it comes to glitter. Such a mess. I'll let that dry for 20 minutes. Usually I spray paint with clear spray paint to kind of keep that sand and or glitter in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and epoxy it after that's dry. I always start with the sand or glitter area when I'm epoxying. That way I'm not moving it around too much, but I can kind of try to seal it in that spot. Then once you've done the sand or glitter spot, you can go ahead and move on to epoxying the rest of your cup. If you've noticed, I am doing smooth up and down motions. This is to get the cup as smooth as possible so you don't have what I call rivets, which basically looks like waves on your cup. And if you do get something like that, you have to sand it completely flat and do another layer of epoxy again. So if you don't want to do that, just move the epoxy up and down. Now I'm taking some white alcohol ink that's specifically designed to make waves, and I'm just going to pour that into the leftover epoxy that I have into my cup. It only takes a few seconds, but you want to make sure it's completely combined. That way when you go to put it on your cup, you don't accidentally get just a clear spot, which won't really matter, but since you're putting the white in there and you want to make those waves, you really want to make the waves unbreakable. Now you're just gonna let it drip onto the cup in the areas that you want waves. So if you think about a regular beach, you normally have waves that are gonna be right up on the sand, and you're gonna have waves that are a little bit further out. So I'm gonna speed this up a little bit, but basically I'm gonna just create 3 different layers of waves. So you're just gonna kind of move it back and forth over the cup, and gravity will kind of make the waves for you as it spins. But if you'd like to rush the process or be able to see what the waves will look like when the cup is kind of finished, and if you need to do any more layers of the white, then I would suggest using like a hair dryer or a heat gun in order to move those waves in the direction that you wish. So I'm going to use my heat gun at an angle. Remember, you don't want to keep it in one spot for too long because it is going to burn your epoxy, which from experience is not pleasant, I promise you. So you're just going to constantly move it to try to get those waves. I'm going to speed up the video a little bit and you'll be able to see the waves kind of starting to form and where I need to add more of the white alcohol ink. So I noticed the middle was missing some of the white, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more. And also the epoxy, now that it's been warmed up, is more fluid, so that's why it's dripping a lot. And this will also help the white alcohol ink kind of form those waves. So if you wanted to, before adding the white alcohol ink, you could heat up the epoxy on your tumbler with your heat gun or torch, and you can kind of get it flowing a little bit, make it a little bit more liquidy, and then add your white alcohol ink so it starts to flow better for you if you'd like. Some people don't want to do that, but either way they both work basically the same. I've pretty much had my protection on the whole time, but for sanding you also want to make sure you have your protection. I'll show you in a minute exactly why, because you don't want to be breathing in any of this dust. So as I go to sand this, see if I can get it a little bit closer to you, you'll be able to see some of that dust coming off. You don't want to be breathing any of that. Granted, your tumbler This particular one was turning for 5 to 8 hours before I started sanding it. And sometimes people like to do 2 layers, but because the sand was so thick and I'm going to be adding on more layers anyway, I figured I'll just go ahead and sand some of that off while it was basically glued onto that cup. So once my cup is as smooth as I'm gonna get it, because obviously it's not completely smooth, I'm gonna add several more layers of epoxy on. I'm gonna go ahead and take some alcohol and I'm gonna rub that all over my tumbler in order to get off all of that sanding dust that is accumulated on there. All right, so the cup is clean. I'm gonna go ahead and add on a few more layers. And then probably after 2 layers, if I don't need to sand it and it's completely flat, I'll go ahead and add my decals and then do another layer of epoxy after that. You're gonna do 5 to 8 hours in between each layer of epoxy. And then once it's fully cured, you're gonna be done with your cup. If you've liked this video and it's helped you, click the like and subscribe button. If you'd like to purchase this tumbler, head on over to my Etsy at True Designs by Kayla.